Welcome to the Movie Vault. I'm Ben.
And I'm Zach.
And this week I went to Cedar Point. If you're unfamiliar with Cedar Point, it is an American amusement park in Sandusky, Ohio. And it currently has... Actually, I've lost track of the count of roller coasters because they keep tearing them down and building new ones. And it's somewhere around 18 or 19. It's a lot. It's one of the higher numbered amounts of roller coasters in any park in the world. But more than just the number of roller coasters, it's the quality of the roller coasters there that they brag about. It's often referenced as the roller coaster capital of the world, and it's right here in Ohio. We're actually very blessed, a very blessed roller coaster state in Ohio between Kings Island and Cedar Point. So I got to ride Top Thrill 2, which is the second rendition of the Top Thrill Dragster. I think they redid it because they were starting to have like more mechanical issues with it. If you're unfamiliar, it's just a giant.
I thought a piece of shrapnel killed someone.
that too. Well, I mean that's not happens every day.
I mean, fair enough. Not at Cedar Point though.
I don't know if it killed someone, but I think it hurt them. It might have been a chronic condition that they were
killed their chances of being prom queen.
So now there's a big spike on the back that you get. You get 3 launches. So you launch up the front half and then you launch back, which I think is the coolest part.
Launching backwards
because you like hang down and you're like looking at the ground, which is pretty cool. And then you get the launch up and then you get the ride down. The last launch you really, is basically the same as Top Thrill Dragster was. So you still get the Top Thrill Dragster experience, but you also get a little extra time, which was always a complaint because it was a very short ride. So I think overall it's an improvement. Which
it's like eye contact before kissing.
Yeah, it's like you are happy
for
with
me. Do you know what I mean?
Eye contact before.
Do you have any idea what I mean by that, or do you just be like, yeah, that's something Zach would say?
I don't know if I really even processed your thought there.
Because you still get the kiss, you still get that original Top Thrill,
but you
get
also
the little
get
build up.
The eye contact too. Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
I just didn't know like the psychology behind you moving on so quickly. Did you like understand? Because I'll be
I totally didn't understand.
I'd be very impressed if you did.
No, I did not understand.
Because
the psychology was, okay, Zach said something. I am gonna move on.
I purposefully made it like incomprehensible. Today we're gonna continue our arc.
Speaking of incomprehensible,
but actually very comprehensible.
We're continuing our David Lynch series. We had a little break with the Simpsons movie, which was fun. But now we're back to regular, no spectaculars, just episode 139 here. And this is The Straight Story, which is a 1999 biographical road drama film directed by David Lynch, of course. And this movie is based on a true story about Alvin Straight. And he ventured on a John Deere lawnmower somewhere around, what did they say? Was it 240 miles from Lawrence, Iowa to Mount Zion, Wisconsin, because he wanted to make up with his brother who he had been separated from for 10 years because of a dispute. So this is, based on a true story. And David Lynch's editor, Mary Sweeney, read about the story. It happened in 1994, and she wanted to do something with it. She showed it to David Lynch, and he was like, of course I want to do this. I mean, it's just like Lost Highway, basically. There's a road.
It reminds me of the O.J. Simpson. I can't do the voice.
Yeah. So it's not in the vein of what we'd expect from David Lynch at this point. But if you remember his little movie, The Elephant Man, I feel like there's a lot of ties between this movie and that movie in the sense that it's a very realistic, like this is the neo-realism version of David Lynch, where he's really showing the authentic human experience.
That's a great point.
Encumbered by weird dream sequences and surrealism.
Yeah, it's almost like our thesis has been that David Lynch is the most genuine director to have ever lived. And I think a lot of people see him as like a dark, twisted kind of guy. But how can you make dark movies and also make movies like this if you don't have any genuineness to you? And Ben, I was very surprised at your rating of this film.
Why were you surprised?
Because I just saw it like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
It was a perfect score.
I can't lie. I do think this is a perfect movie. I don't know where it would actually rank. And this is where my letterbox ratings and what I actually like view as my favorite movies, I am very unsure about. But I think this is a perfect movie. Like, it hits all the elements of great filmmaking. Lynch called it his most experimental movie,
which is interesting because it's the most based movie.
Right. But they actually filmed it along the route that this happened on, and they did it in chronological order. Really? So from a technical standpoint, this was actually a pretty difficult movie to make, even if the story is pretty straightforward. Ha ha ha. And it also features an incredible performance from, and what would be the last performance from Richard Farnsworth, while he actually was suffering from terminal cancer.
Yeah.
So there was a meta element where the actual guy who's the main character, who's playing Alan Straight, or Alvin Straight, they called him Alan Straight, is actually suffering through. So the double cane thing is because he actually, the cancer was spreading to his bones. He couldn't walk.
He has metastatic prostate cancer.
Yeah. So pretty bad. And he ended up actually
ending his own life.
Which is very sad.
Out of the pain of the cancer. Not out of... That's what they say, at least.
Yeah, that's and so this was his last movie, and he would pass away within the next year. So from that standpoint, it's like kind of sad, and you get this whole nother story about this like journeyman actor, which this is a classic David Lynch. If you look at this cast, it's like, Harry Dean Stanton, who he throws into everything, and then there's the one guy from Twin Peaks who plays Big Ed.
Yeah,
he shows up.
Yeah, I didn't see any Jack Nance.
Oh, some crazy thing. So. Chris Farley's brothers are in this movie.
Interesting.
As the twins.
As John and Kevin Farley.
Yeah. But no. And Sissy Spacek, of course, who we talked about, known for being in Badlands. And then Jack Fisk was the director of cinematography for this movie.
Yeah. And it shows.
It shows because this is like Days of Heaven vibes. Like
farmland.
We raved about Malick's ability to depict the central U.S. and show it as like something beautiful, but this is another example of that.
Yes,
and it's something that doesn't happen often. There's a few directors who've been able to do it, and it makes sense that Lynch, having grown up like in Montana and Idaho and a few places around the U.S. that are a little less populated, that he has an appreciation for somewhere like the middle of Iowa, and can see the beauty in it. So
there's a lot of space to breathe in this movie, which kind of gives the visuals more time to kind of reflect light and show glimpses into different sceneries. And I even think of a scene that sticks out is that thunderstorm, and he just drives his tractor right into that tunnel, and you see the lightning, you see the rain, and he's just right in the center of it. It's perfectly aligned. There's rain and lightning in the background, and he's just kind of like chilling there on the tractor. And I was just like, this doesn't like add anything to the plot, but it's beautiful, and it kind of adds to the feeling of the movie as well. And people forget, like, it's not all about plot. Christopher Nolan, sometimes it's about the feeling that you get.
And this is a movie where the plot kind of grows on you as it goes along. Like, not everything is revealed at once.
Yeah. And
there are a couple segments that feel more like segments. It's like they're almost like vignettes, right? That's kind of how because there's clear like fade to black and then come back up, and then gradually as the movie comes to a close, there's a couple scenes that are like incredibly, I don't know, emotional. I guess there's no other better way to put it. There's the scene where Alvin Straight describes himself accidentally shooting a fellow veteran or somebody he was serving in the war with, thinking that they were a German soldier. And that he had never actually told anyone that that's what happened, that he had accidentally shot this person. And he's just kind of like getting the guilt off his chest with this guy that he met in some town in Iowa.
Yeah.
And you can see the look on both of their faces. Like, the other guy was also a veteran, and you can tell that like this story is like resonating with him as well. Maybe not necessarily because he has one that is the exact same, but he can feel for the plight of Alvin, who's like, well, I really didn't mean to do this, but like I'm still harboring this guilt, and I also didn't admit it. So there's some aspect of that to it as well. And then him, talking to the Catholic priest.
Yep.
Him sharing with people that he dealt with alcoholism.
Yeah.
That his relationship with his brother was, partially marred by both of their struggles with alcoholism. So it starts out kind of like, wow, this guy's like real goofy. But it starts to make more sense when you realize this guy has 80 years, however many years of like traumatic experiences. And he's only now finally starting to realize like, I need to like try to reconcile some, like I need to like find peace with some of these things, which is a little bit sad because it's later in life than you could potentially start to think it. But then you also realize it's not too late either.
Sure.
They're both still alive.
Even if it takes a tractor getting there. And I think, there are a lot of great scenes. We can talk about each of the different stops and kind of what it means. But overall, this film is kind of like an epilogue, it seems. Like the story's already happened. And this is really just like him reminiscing on his life. And you are given clues right into his life of what has happened, what trauma has he been through. But it seems like his lessons are also lessons for other people, right? You think of that girl with the bundle of sticks, or the bikers that go by and are asking him, what it's like to be old, or the twins, Chris Farley's brothers, who are fighting, and he kind of gives them a little bit of a rebuke. And he has a lot of wisdom because of the mistakes that he's made. And it's a very unique way to tell a story about a character, as the motivations of this character are being revealed throughout the film. Obviously, his main motivation is to reconcile with his brother, but it seems like that's not the only thing driving him for this reconciliation, for this peace. There are a lot of lessons that he already innately knew, right? Him telling the brothers to stop fighting is, driving him to reconcile with his brother. Him telling the girl to go back to her family, that shows like, oh, families need to stick together. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that plays into it. He says the hardest part about being old is remembering when you were young, right? It's memories, it's reminiscing, it's knowing all the guilt that you have and the pain that you carry. So very dark, but very light film. And it's so genuine.
And there's a lot of like sort of comedic. It's not like a belly laugh movie, but just like people kind of gawking at Alvin and just trying to understand, because he's not explaining anything. He's very stubborn. Yeah. And he's not like, I'm not going to go into this whole like spiel as to why I'm doing this. You're just going to have to accept that this is what I'm doing.
Him with the doctor is so funny at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just give me the doctor. I'm worried about your emphysema, and then the next scene is him smoking a cigar.
and Sissy Spacek as his daughter is she has kind of a stutter and maybe some learning disabilities and things, and she's kind of not like, it's funny, but like in a kind of adorable sense. Like she really loves her father, and it's just it's so real because you can see people's authentic portrayal, and sometimes people are funny, and it's not because you're making fun of them. It's just they are like, that's the way that life is. Yeah. And you can appreciate them for their genuineness. Like the scene where she interacts with the cashier and she doesn't understand what the cashier's like, they're like talking, but they're not understanding each other at all. That was good. Just like very, very creative writing, but you also are watching it and you're like, I could believe that this interaction would happen in real life. Yeah. Which is really hard to pull off. And it speaks to the talent of the cast as well, that they're able to like convincingly just act like you totally believe that Richard Farnsworth is Alvin Straight, the way he talks. And you get that little subtle Lynchian vibe in this movie. I was noticing it towards some of the end scenes where he's in that one town where he ends up like his tractor breaks down, he has to pay money, and those like the guys sitting like watching the the controlled burn of the house. Well, this was a good house to burn. Like that's just like classic. Like you could be like, this is right out of Blue Velvet or something.
Right. Yeah.
So he doesn't completely lose like what makes him David Lynch. There's just no surreal nightmare scenes, and it does feel like more like Terrence Malick. I don't know. It's interesting that Lynch doesn't have to totally be like he doesn't have to totally be going down the path that he's going down all the time. Like he can actually pull back on it.
Yeah. He has self-control.
Right. And when he has a project that doesn't like push those directions, he can still execute it well. I think that's kind of what this showed. I don't know if that was his point with making it. I don't think it was. I think he was just like, this is a good story.
Yeah, I think we forget that he made only 10 movies in the span of like 45 years. So when he had a chance to make a film, he went hard into his ideas, his ideas that he fixated on, right? But I think 1 or 2 films out of 10 films is a good amount of films to not go as hard as you intend to every time.
Yeah, and it's not that he wasn't going, like he still, like you said, it was very experimental, but it was just not experimental in the ways that we grew accustomed to with David Lynch.
David Lynch can fit through a Disney filter, apparently.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is Disney actually just distributed this movie. So they weren't involved in the production at all until after it premiered at Cannes, and then they bought the rights.
After it was nominated for Palme d'Or.
Yeah, after it was nominated for a Palme d'Or. And what they said is it felt like a Disney movie. They were like, it was very wholesome, and like, so they were like, this makes sense with the Disney logo on top of it. So he didn't even need Disney to produce it to make something they wanted. I mean, at this point in time, whoever was in charge of like their marketing department or whatever,
it kind of does feel like a Disney movie.
It does, yeah, but like a really, really much better version
Best Disney
of most
movie ever.
Disney movies, right?
Besides Lion King.
Because somehow it has like all the beats of like a movie. It could be like a Hallmark movie, but it's just like so much better.
Yeah.
Like it removes all of the like tacky stuff about Hallmark movies.
Yeah, like the big city girl with the country boy.
Yeah, and replaces it with like
brothers.
Yeah, and like old people and like all kinds of things.
There's no big city anymore.
Yeah, it's like nothing like a Hallmark movie at all.
Yeah,
when
but
you
like
remove all the stuff.
The vibe, I can kind of tell what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't. Again, it's like so unexpected from Lynch, but it's very, very good.
I do.
And
wonder,
anybody who is like avoiding this because they're like, well, it's not like the other David Lynch movies, like I did, because it was this is the last one I watched of his movies.
It's a happy end. That's nice.
Yeah, and again, I gave it 5 stars, and I stand by that. Again, I don't know that means it's my
that's good.
3rd or 4th favorite. I don't know. I don't even know how I'd rank them. Depends on the day.
How many 5-star films do you have?
4 of David Lynch.
Yeah, of David Lynch, you have 4.
I have 4 David Lynch.
I'm asking you.
No. David Lynch, I just have Mulholland Drive, and this one has 5 stars.
Okay.
Because I gave
Wow.
Inland Empire a 4.5.
Okay. I gave Inland Empire also a 4.5.
Because I think when I rate movies, I still do technically, like Inland Empire probably had some parts that were like kind of a mess and a little self-indulgent. So I like, but I don't know why I'm trying to rank it objectively.
You can't rank David Lynch
or like rate it objectively. That's
not the purpose of David Lynch's media of film.
But that's kind of just how I operate on Letterboxd. So
that's the only way it operates on Letterboxd.
Because I was looking through my movies and I was like, I don't know why like I gave some movies a 4 and some movies a 4.5. I'm like, there's no like real rhyme or reason. Like I like this movie better, but I still rated it lower.
Yeah, but I know it's not like much of a difference, but I feel like the more you do it, the more you can kind of tell the difference. Like I know what a 3.5 star film is to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Know? And I know what a 5
and
is.
Of course there's movies that, I mean, I think especially at half stars, there'll be movies that like if you really went back, you would like bump up or bump down half stars.
Oh, for sure.
It would be rare for a movie to be like a full star lower for me, but it could happen. But that's much more rare. It's more the half star thing makes it.
Yeah.
That's why I hate Goodreads, because you can only rate on like, and I'm
full
like
stars.
Yeah, on full stars, and I'm like, so I'm between rating this book a 4 and a 5. But like, am I gonna give all the books 5 stars?
Yeah.
I try to read good books. I'm not trying to read books
Sure.
that I won't like.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's talk about one of the first ones, which was the bundle of branches.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that scene, Ben? This is my second time watching it. I want to know your first reaction.
So this is the scene where a runaway high school girl
Mm-hmm.
comes to his fire, and he's kind of talking to her about she doesn't like her family. She feels like they're not, whatever. She doesn't. I don't know if she goes into that much detail, but they're not getting along.
He seems to be able to read her
Yeah.
because she doesn't reveal that she's pregnant. She doesn't reveal like that she's running. He says, "You're a runaway, right?" And then he's like, how long have you, or how far are you in the pregnancy or something like that?
Yeah.
Like he knew right away.
And yeah, she's making assumptions that her family will like reject her because of this.
Yeah, because apparently she didn't even tell the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, which at the age that she's at, you could see how she only sees her parents as being like punishing or like, but she might not understand that there is more complexity to the situation that they would understand.
Yeah.
And be helpful. And that's what he's trying to help get her to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and the fact that like, when you're younger, you think like the people who are closest to you, like your friends, will always be there, but
they won't.
And it's not always even their fault that they won't always be there, because they have families too.
Sometimes they just won't.
Sometimes it is their fault. Sometimes you actually have friends that suck, like me. I have a friend I do a podcast with, and no,
he's never there for me.
No, I'm kidding. You can have really good friends who become like family too, but
sure.
But yeah, family is a very special gift that we have, and that families aren't perfect, but together they can be strong.
Together. Yeah, like a bundle of branches.
Together, and there should have been like a musical number. Together, families.
It's the Radiator Girl from Eraserhead.
Yeah, we could do a like straight story, but like add our own surreal scenes in the middle of it.
That would be awesome. We call it the twisted story.
Yeah,
I think it's a great scene because even just the fact that she left the bundle of was it bundle of branches? Is that what you call it?
Bundle of sticks. I don't know.
Sticks, whatever. Like that's such a very sweet thing for a director to put in the script or whatever. I mean, I don't know if that's what actually happened in real life to Alvin Straight, but
Probably not.
Probably not. But
I'm guessing most of the vignettes are not based on who knows, unless he had a very detailed journal.
I hope that him riding the tractor really fast into that town was real.
Yeah, it's very funny.
But I mean, that's just a very sweet shot. Like David Lynch is so genuine for that. What do you think about the bikers? There was a thunderstorm, and we talked about that a little bit. That was kind of just like a moment to breathe, take a break.
Well, I was like, yeah, Alvin, be pissed off about bikers, because I kind of, as a runner,
but he wasn't mad.
He wasn't mad. He was just kind of like in awe.
He was so sweet about it.
He was like, wow, this is like really cool. And then he hangs out with the bikers, and they're all clapping when he comes in on his tractor, which is cool. And you also realize how slow he's going, because like people on bikes can go like zip by him. They're going way faster. And if you've ever like rode a tractor like this, like I used to ride like these.
Is it rode or ridden?
I don't know. It's probably ridden. Have you ever ridden
no
a tractor? Have you ever rode a tractor? They both sound right.
Yeah.
There's probably one that's technically right.
Yeah, it's like cactuses or cacti.
It's almost like a dialect thing too.
Yeah.
Like some areas might say road.
Yeah.
I rode a bike.
Soda pop.
That's how you would say. I rode a bike.
Or I ridden. No, I have rode a bike.
So does it depend on the tense?
I have ridden.
I have ridden a bike. I rode a bike. Like, anyway. So
anyone who has rode a bike. Anyone who has ridden a bike.
Like a Cub Cadet tractor that was basically the same size as these.
A what?
A Cub Cadet tractor.
They're
basically like this John Deere tractor. They look the same.
Cub Cadet? Is that
it's
a brand?
just called Cub Cadet. Yeah, there's a brand.
Is it like off-brand John Green?
John Deere? No, it's just like a different brand. It's just like a rival company. I think. I don't know if their International Harvester made them. I'm not sure. But my grandpa had 2 Cub Cadets. Okay. And they were like mowers basically, but they're also kind of like tractors, so you can like pull stuff.
Interesting.
Like not big things, but like small things. But yeah, they're very slow. They're not very fast. Like you just kind of chug along on them. I mean, they can go a little bit fast, but like even the top speed's like 15 miles an hour. Maybe not even that. Maybe like 10.
I was about to say it's kind of fast.
I don't know about 15. It might just feel like 15 because like comparatively you're going like 5 miles an hour or whatever. So I would say 10 is like the max. So these bikes are like zipping by him. And yeah, he hangs out with them and they're just asking him like kind of jokingly like, what is it like to be old? Because they're probably just like, this is so funny that this old guy just happens to be here in the midst of like all these young, fit people who are riding through Iowa. I guess people do this. I don't know. It looked like it was kind of one of those like multi-day ride things. Like you ride and then everyone camps somewhere.
Yeah.
And you keep
Sounds
riding.
Terrible.
Yeah. I wish I had that much time off. I could do that stuff like that.
I mean, I'm just thinking like riding your bike all day. Like just staring at your friend's butt all day.
Yeah. And it's like through Iowa, which we said it looks so beautiful in this movie. But like at the same time, if you're just like riding
having a
through
screensaver on the back of your computer, yeah, it's beautiful.
It's just
but don't
corn
stare at it for 9
and
hours.
like rolling hills. It's not like once you see it a couple times, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, beauty is good in a short period of time.
Yeah, although I suppose maybe we could focus a little bit better if we got rid of the screens and the tic-tac and we went out and rode our bikes for 12 hours and looked at the same scenery.
I've decided I'm no longer going to have an opinion on any of those things.
You're
about the ban of TikTok. I decided I'm checking out.
I don't have an opinion on the ban of TikTok.
I think I'm checking out on judging the younger generation.
Here's my opinion. I think some people like talk about like people don't really understand the brain. So there's people who are like, we're ruining our brains by like all these screens. They weren't designed for these things. But I'm like, how do we really know? I mean,
what if it's improving our brains?
Yeah. What if our brains are becoming more efficient? Because I don't really know. I'm not saying like it's a good or bad thing. Clearly there's bad aspects to it. Right.
Yeah.
But like also we're able to do a lot of things that we weren't able to do. Like, I don't know. Does everyone want to become like an anarcho-primitivist? Like we're going back to like being cavemen. Like, that's like a real like political viewpoint that like we should like get like decelerationist, where we should like get rid of technology and just like go back to like,
I mean, it sounds fun.
I mean, it's an interesting perspective because you could be like, if you didn't know technology existed, you wouldn't even think that you were missing out on anything.
But like if we go back to like tribes,
yeah,
and like the thing that is coveted is like a stick,
right,
or like a rock.
Is that really better though? Like,
I mean,
but I would love to debate one of these people. Not just because I'm like, I mean,
can you?
Progression. There's also accelerationists who are like progress at all costs.
Yeah.
Which feels like
Dr. Frankenstein.
Feels like that's kind of we're more an accelerationist culture than a decelerationist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the people who are like, what is gonna happen when the AI? Like, there's always those people, but like at the same time, we never stop. Like, we never ever do anything to stop. So
can we chill with the AI? I'm not saying like
I think
don't make more AI. I'm saying can we chill with the New York Times articles of the AI?
Yeah, and it's also just like AI is like way less cool than I think people like make it out to be.
Can we like this is what's happening, Ben, by the way. They're saying, "Oh, this AI said this. This AI said that," as if it's like celebrities. Like Grok, Elon Musk's AI apparently said something white supremacist or something, and it's like, "Oh, Grok said this." It's like as if it's like a puff piece on some kind of celebrity. You know what I mean? It's not like P. Diddy out there. It's like this is an AI,
That I mean, AIs will be the celebrities of the future.
Oh my gosh.
Like we don't talk about people losing their jobs. We're not going to need celebrities anymore. AIs can do anything. They are completely moldable. They're not people. They don't have to go to rehab.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah, AI can't get it, but maybe they program him so that.
But they're gonna make him like there's gonna be AI rehab, but like they don't need it. But
it's just instantly work.
It's just there because we need it as part of the like arc of the celebrity.
Yeah, we don't need any AI is addicted to cocaine or anything.
Yeah, well, they can. AI could get. It's like there's AI. There's drugs for the AIs.
There's like an AI O.J. Simpson trial.
The AI chase. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the future is gonna be, but certainly Alvin Straight would be shocked by all of this because he could barely even operate a mobile telephone. Which that whole thing about. Sorry, we were going scene by scene, and now I've totally thrown us off.
No, that was so funny what you just said.
Every once in a while, I have a moment.
Yeah. So I think the next scene would be, so the woman hits the deer. This one was an interesting scene.
The woman hitting the deer, that was my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding, but it was the one that made me laugh the most. I was like, what the heck is going on? This lady she's hit 13 deer in 7 weeks, and she's just like, I can't say, you're like, is she like a drug addict? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, that's a lot of deer.
Yeah, and also she just seemed like kind of off, and I don't know what the point of that was.
She said 13 deer in like however many weeks, like 6 weeks or 13
Yeah,
weeks?
it was like an average
weeks.
of 2 deer a week, and she kept saying like, I keep my lights on, and there's like broad daylight. I'm like, and it's interesting because we see his like his viewpoint, like we only hear the wreck,
Yeah.
and we're like, was there like a multi-vehicle accident? At first you're like, did somebody run into him?
The
Did
camera
he
shot was interesting. It like zoomed in on his face.
Yeah, they
pretty
just see his
quickly.
reaction,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know whether that was a budget thing, because then they don't have to film the crash, but.
Or the deer getting hit.
But also, it's a good point. Sometimes filmmaking is as much about what you don't show as what you do show.
Yeah.
Write that down. Write that down, everyone.
But it kind of goes to the point that it's like an epilogue, right? The story's already happened. This is kind of the aftermath of the story. The story being Alvin's life, of course. But do you think this is like a random scene that's Lynchian? Or do you think it's...
I mean, this is one of the more Lynchian. We can rank like which scenes are the most Lynchian. This has got to be up there. And I have another one that when we get to it, I'll say is also a pretty Lynchian scene.
But do you think it's one of those things also? It's like he gave advice to that girl. It seemed like her problem was solved. He had a good, nice conversation session with the bikers. And then this is another interaction with someone where not even a single really word is said between the two. She just drives
She's
off.
just ranting. It just shows the expanse of human existence.
Yeah, I was thinking like it shows like there's chaos in the world too. Like
Yeah.
there are things out of our control.
It's a little show of fate in the movie.
Yeah.
Or chance or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. It's a little bit open-ended for us to interpret a little bit there. So the next scene is the tractor breaks down in a town, right? And he meets all these people. He goes
This
to
is
the
the
bar
downhill.
with the veteran. And the brothers are in this town too, and then they get fixed. And
This
he
is
heads
like
out.
this is kind of like the longest sequence of things that
Mhm.
happens basically.
Yeah.
Because he's in this town, he stays with this couple in there. He doesn't stay with them. He refuses to even go in their house,
Mhm.
which is kind of like I don't know if that's supposed to be like a Midwestern like they're being really nice, but they're also inside saying like this guy's weird.
Yeah.
So they're going to be so polite.
I mean, he's a stubborn old man.
But he's also very stubborn, and he's going to do things exactly how he wants
Yeah.
to, and everyone's just going to have to deal with that. So the other scene I said was pretty Lynchian was the twin scene.
Yes.
Because their interaction and everything was just like so odd, and the fact there's something about like the fact that they're twins that it's almost like the Blue Velvet. Remember the blind twins in the hardware store?
Yeah.
Type thing? He has this like thing with doing stuff like that. I don't know. It's maybe Lynch is a lot more like.
I just love a good set of twins.
Do you think Lynch is kind of an expressionist?
No.
Like his art, like he takes impressions of people. No, am I trying to say? I said expressionist. I mean impressionist.
Maybe.
He's taking like people, he's pulling them out of real life, and he's putting them in his like impressionist painting. You know how impressionism is like they couldn't paint real life anymore because the camera got invented. So it's like, what's the point of painting a picture that's realistic?
It's so funny because David's journey is the reverse of that, where he was painting, the garden one day, and then he saw like the green paint move a little bit, and he wanted to make moving pictures, right? Paintings, I mean.
Yeah.
Like, and then, so maybe like his philosophy of film is based on impression, like an art style, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely more artistic, which I keep bringing up Malick because of the Jack Fisk thing, but that's what people always said about Days of Heaven, was that it's an impressionistic film. So like, what does that mean? I think it was more so the landscapes than anything. Like Impressionism, they used a lot of landscape. I'm talking like I know all the stuff about all these art styles, but it's really like I'm pulling every bit of knowledge I've ever learned about art to try to
David wouldn't care.
Make these. Yeah, and he would be like, "Oh, it doesn't even matter." But I was just watching his Art of Life thing, and he was inspired by like this Bushnell guy who he like was friends with his son and like saw his studio. And Lynch's art itself looks a lot more abstract, which I guess would be what you would expect. But it seems like he takes these characters that you would like run into, you know, in small town America. You would be like, this guy's kind of odd, but it's just because he's from this small town. And then he puts them in these like weird circumstances, like with Blue Velvet. But this movie, there's not really the weird. Well, there are the weird circumstances. They're just like, this is actually based on a real story. Like, it's very strange, but it's a story that actually happened.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I guess Impressionism does seem like a fair
Sometimes
way
the
to
weird
judge this,
things are real.
Yeah.
Like the Elephant Man.
I mean, he's doing an impression of this entire story, because this is definitely not how it actually happened, but it did happen. So.
Yeah. So then there's the scene with him with the bar and the veteran, in the bar with the veteran, and we kind of covered this like this idea of being able to relate with someone, right? Alvin finally, he is closed off, right? He doesn't reveal a lot to his daughter. He doesn't reveal a lot to anybody. He's the one giving advice. He's not the one receiving advice. And then, you know, he is pretty stubborn. He doesn't want to go inside the house. He, you know, gets his discounts on his tractor. But then he meets someone who kind of understands what he's going through and opens up, and it gets pretty emotional.
Probably the most important scene in the movie.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
It reveals the most about Alvin of any scene.
Regret, guilt, shame, but also like this ability to understand like there is peace that can be found beyond that.
Right. Because some mistakes that are made in life, even if you handled them in whatever the best, are just like,
even
they're
if you
just
like repent, it's still there.
They're still there. There's nothing you can do to remove them. But there's not a complete lack of. There isn't a lack of hope, and there is still an opportunity to find peace. I think it's kind of what we learn.
Yeah, the earthly consequences can last a lifetime many times. Yeah, so I think that scene really opens the door to who Alvin really is, and you kind of are like, you get this more nuanced character who isn't just kind of like stubborn and then happy sometimes. You know, he is like a guy who has been through a lot, been literally in the trenches, in the war. Then he goes, they fixes the tractor. The brothers are fighting. They kind of give him a high price, and he kind of finagles it down a little bit and accuses them of bickering, right? And he gets it from like 270 down to like 180 or something like that. And it's an old person thing to do, but it's funny. It's a good scene.
But he also, I remember in that scene being struck by him saying that like, you're brothers, and like that's important. And I was thinking about, I have one brother, and I was thinking about like how true that is, that like no matter what happens in life or like where you go, like you have like a bond with your brother or brothers that you just is like not the same as with anyone else. I mean, you develop friends who become like brothers too, but there's something,
said only your brothers that are similar in age can understand you on that level, is basically what Alvin says.
And it's true. Like you grow up so closely with these people, even if you move away as an adult, like there's certain just like things that you understand about each other from the however 14, 16 years that you were like constantly together.
Yeah.
That just like nobody else will ever understand.
Formative times. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I mean it's obviously an allusion to his relationship with his brother, and yeah, I'd missed in the previous scene when he was talking in the bar. They're in the setting of a bar, and he talks about how that friendly fire killing incident was the thing that drove him to alcoholism, and we know that eventually led to him like with the bad relationship with his brother. Mm-hmm. So like it's all kind of connected. So like this guilt that he feels for friendly fire, it's not just some random guilt that we're covering. It's related to the plot, right? It's related to his reconciliation with the brother. So then immediately he goes and tries to reconcile these two twins, and he eventually makes it to Wisconsin. Speaking of which, the place is called Mount Zion, Wisconsin. Mount Zion, in biblical terms, is often used as a type or illusion of heaven, and this idea of like reaching the end. So like there is some symbolism in this as well,
which maybe is a little bit of cosmic irony because the town is actually called Mount Zion. Like this is actually where Alvin Straight drove. Like he didn't like. Yeah. This is actually where his brother lived. So I don't know. Yeah, it is interesting that you say that, but it's not like there was a director who came up with that name who was like, this is supposed to represent
That's probably why Dave was like, it's just so perfect already. I just want to adapt it.
Yeah, and of course, not to fret, he does drink again before he dies, so that's good for him. He gets a Miller's Light. He's like, I'll try it. How about I'll try a Miller's Light? And it's fitting he does it in Wisconsin, which is like the capital of alcoholism in the entire U.S.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like the highest drinking per county of any.
That's
they love drinking in Wisconsin.
Interesting. Well, shout out to our Wisconsin listener, all one of you. He goes to the priest in Mount Zion, Wisconsin. Well, in Wisconsin, he goes to the priest, Catholic priest. He knows Lyle, which is his brother.
Even though Lyle's a Baptist.
Yeah, which is interesting. The priest says that Lyle never mentioned Alvin before. So it just shows the depth of the corruption in their relationship. Alvin wants to make amends, and he says his alcoholism was the thing that broke them apart at some point, or it led to it. He gets to Mount Zion and drinks his first beer, like you said, but his engine fails. Someone fixes his tractor. Alvin gets to Lyle. They sit on the porch. They look at the stars, and that's the end.
Yeah, and this is like the second point in the movie where they like show the stars. So I don't know.
What was the first point again?
I can't remember. I just know
was it the night when the teenage girl pregnant?
It might have been. It might have been that night, because I know there was for sure a scene where they like pan up to the stars. So I wasn't sure whether there was supposed to be some connection between the two scenes. Maybe not. Maybe it was just like stars are cool.
I just really like stars. I need to get the voice down. Man, I'm so disappointed right now. I had a good episode where I had his voice down pretty well.
Yeah, it's tough. I even feel like my voice the last couple episodes hasn't been as
Hey, for the last one in the arc, next episode, you got to get it down.
I got to practice.
The whole episode in his voice.
Oh, that would be crazy.
That would be absolutely insane.
Yeah. It would be a little bit fitting for his masterpiece. Yeah, it's interesting. This movie doesn't get talked about by, I don't know, film connoisseurs who like Lynch at all.
Yeah.
But it was really highly regarded. Roger Ebert finally gave this movie this was his first positive review of any David Lynch movie.
Yeah, which is so interesting.
Well, did he not like The Elephant Man? I can't remember.
I can look
Wikipedia was saying it was the first time, but maybe he did like The Elephant Man. I'm like, how could you not like that movie? Yeah, how cold-hearted do you have to be to not like The Elephant Man?
Wow, 2 stars.
He did not like The Elephant Man. Wow. Well, he liked this. He thought that it was very authentic. I don't think he, like we've said with the whole beef between Roger Ebert and David Lynch before, I don't think Roger Ebert ever doubted David Lynch's talent. He just disagreed with how he used his talent. But I think he also just misunderstood David Lynch. He said he liked the foreground and the background. And it's about the people who listen and care. He's a sappy guy. Roger, He's a sappy guy. He loves a sappy movie. So of course you'd like this.
It's kind of a movie that's hard to not like.
Yeah, exactly. It's the ultimate, like, it's rated G. There's not that many rated G movies.
Yeah.
Only thing that's they like write, it's rated G, but they still have to write like contains tobacco, because we're so like we've become so anti-tobacco, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. It actually has worked. Like, I don't know, if you go to Europe, they still smoke cigarettes all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's not like a taboo thing, but it's so. I mean, I don't know if you're against government regulation, whatever, but hey, people don't smoke as much as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But it still, was nominated for a Palme d'Or at Cannes. I didn't realize. I mean, it's still a big deal, but like 15 movies get nominated, or it's like kind of a lot of movies get nominated for the Palme d'Or.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, you still have to be, you still have to have a very good movie to get nominated,
I mean,
or a very controversial movie. One of the two.
Yeah.
It has to be something.
That's a good point.
But this movie was not controversial at all.
No. Not at all.
And it's interesting. I mean, I'm not surprised that it didn't win, but I was trying to see, I did look up, but now I have closed it. I don't know what the other movies were that ran against it, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, there are a bunch of, movies from all over. So it's not even like we would know half of them anyway.
It would be interesting to go pick a year and do an arc just based on all Palme d'Or nominations from 1997.
Because I bet there'd be some years that there'd be some movies you'd be like, what did they see in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
there are some that are just like, what? Why was this a movie that was nominated?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that there was a Jim Jarmusch movie, the Way of the Samurai, that was nominated this year, I believe. I was confused which year it was, and I was looking at the 2001s too, so
yeah,
but I got confused.
So I watched a couple of David Lynch's short films, which I thought they were really not connecting with the straight story at all. And I'm just thinking about like the range in general of David Lynch is just such a wide range. Because David Lynch, the cool thing about him is his style is that he can pretty much put anything in a movie or any type of media. He can do dark, he can do light, he can talk about a very specific object for hours. He can talk about a large theological concept. Like, it can literally be anything as long as the feeling is still Lynchian.
Yeah, that's so true.
But this didn't feel that Lynchian, to be honest. The straight story didn't. Yeah. Have you ever seen any of his short films?
I don't believe so.
You need to watch Six Men Getting Sick. Six Men Getting Sick. And then there's another one called The Alphabet. Those are his first two short films ever, before Eraserhead.
Those are like the art school ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting. This was before AFI.
Wow.
Yeah. So, just kind of disturbing, I'm not going to lie. Pretty disturbing.
Well, he was an artist. He thought the whole point of life was to just smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, and paint. And he just kind of expanded that to smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, paint, and make movies. Oh, and he said like there'd be girls that would come in from time to time.
Which is great.
Maybe that shows why he had so many divorces. Like, he had
Yeah.
such a laissez-faire like view of relationships. It was just kind of like, well, there's a time that they just like float in, and then it's natural that they float out too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna last forever.
Yeah, there are no strict categories at all for David. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other themes for this film, Ben?
No, I think we touched a lot of the major themes. I do think like the general sense that it's a lot of Alvin Straight just talking to people. I mean, I wish that there were more movies that kind of did this. I always joke like and call things like it harkens back to Italian neorealism, but the reason that was such like a influential like film period is because somebody was like, well, you can make a movie that's like people can actually like see their life in it. It's not a documentary.
Yeah.
But this movie felt like very much like a documentary.
It did.
But there's still like aspects of it that make it not a documentary, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
Like, I guess that's what happens with biographical movies anyway. But there's so many horrible biographical movies out there.
Yeah.
Like, just like so boring. Like, they do the things that they decide to change they change it into some sort of cliche thing that fits a mold, right? That's what you do with a biographical film. You're like, okay, well, this person they had these cool things happen in their life, but like obviously the mundane aspects we have to like make more interesting, or you have to cut them out, and then it turns into this like you're just like throwing their life into like some sort of basic story that has already been done, and you're just like changing the person that's
like
in the story.
Movies about the singers that they're doing. Like
it's like
Rocket Man
and now we're having 4 different Beatles.
Okay, here that's an interesting. That's never been done. This is an interesting thing.
Okay, yeah, that could be interesting, but
4 different movies that cross over and connect, coming out in the same month, week by week.
Okay, that could be cool,
right?
Yeah,
but like
it could also be really lame at the same time.
Like one of them's gonna suck. Which one do you think will suck?
Well, lately I've had an opinion that might not be popular. I think George Harrison was the most talented Beatle.
Yeah, but you just say stuff.
All
like
Things
that.
Must Pass is the best like solo Beatles album of any of them.
Okay.
Like, not that I've listened to every single, because I'm not going to listen to Ringo Starr's.
Listen, I concede to the fact that you know more about music than me, but you also just say things for that.
No, this is not me saying. I actually think
piece.
George Harrison was so talented, and
Rock
nobody
said
talked about
white
it.
supremacists.
They all talked about Paul McCartney, and some of the songs that George Harrison wrote for the Beatles were like, what was the one on Abbey Road? I think, is it Something or Sometime? I don't even know the name of the song. I just know it's one of the popular ones.
I don't know. I'm not a big Beatles guy.
Yeah,
sorry.
But anyway, I think All Things Must Pass is an amazing album. I mean, I suppose that doesn't make him the most talented necessarily, but I just think people don't talk about him enough. So I'm excited for the George Harrison.
I bet you his movie doesn't do that well.
Do you think I mean, it's a toss-up between George and Ringo. Which one's the least popular?
Are we gonna go and see all 4 weekend? All 4?
I would ideally.
Weekend?
That would be cool.
You're just gonna. I bet you're gonna have to work like 2 of those weekends.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see him probably on all weekends, but maybe like between my off days,
Tuesdays,
I could see them.
4 Tuesdays in a row.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll plan that. And then they got to do a crossover event called The Beatles at the end.
The Beatles Vengers.
Yeah.
What if they did like all like 60s to 70s bands like assemble and like it's like a super and they like save music type thing.
It's like David Bowie and
and Robert Plant, and
they have to have a woman in there, Pat Benatar. Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, or Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, just a bunch of those guys in there, and then they.
Or who's the lady from? Now I can't even think of band names. You know who wrote The Chain? Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
You won't. You remember when Tim sang,
"Yes,
players only
love you when you're playing."
He's like, about the suburban moms or whatever. Like
no,
that.
it was about the cool aunt.
Our podcast is just becoming a commentary on the Tim Dillon
which
show.
Is fair. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, good. Do you have any final thoughts on the film, Ben?
No,
it's pretty straightforward.
It's a straightforward story. 5-star film, perfect, amazing.
I'm excited to finish off the arc, not to be done, but there is some type of pride that comes with. Maybe it's not good pride, but there is a type of accomplishment that comes from being finished with all but one of David Lynch's films. After this next episode, we are going to finish off with what's considered his magnum opus. Mulholland Drive,
his most universally recognized masterpiece.
Yes.
Which is really interesting when you understand the history of the film and how it came together. That was the one that. Yeah.
Which is really cool, actually.
Yeah. But it fits with Lynch's, everything.
Well, do you have any movie highlights?
Only 2, which they're the broad ends of the spectrum. So I watched Boogie Nights. I referenced, well, maybe that was before we actually started recording. Boogie Nights is a great movie. It is about, how should we phrase this?
The adult entertainment industry.
Yeah, the adult entertainment industry. So I can't really recommend it, but it shows a very brutally honest view of it. It's not really glamorizing it, and it shows a lot of the pitfalls and like how people end up in circumstances like that.
Yeah.
And it's not always in the way that you expect to, because there's some sort of like wholesome family element, but you can tell that it's also off and wrong, and like people are seeking something that they've been like neglected or has been rejected in other parts of their life, and they think they found it in this, which I think is it's still probably like a has a better view of it than maybe people's actual experiences would be. Like, I think the ending still has a little bit of rose-colored glasses to it, but that's not the point. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie, and it's very expansive in the plot. And I really do think Paul Thomas Anderson, I mean, he is right up there as one of my favorite directors, because a lot of his movies, I'm just like, these, again, like they show human experiences in such a like raw way. I think he's more talented than Tarantino, and I say that because I think his movies have a lot more heart than Tarantino's movies.
Definitely
and I think if you listen to his interviews, he has more heart than Tarantino. Like, I don't know. There's no, like, I know we always have to bring up QT on our podcast, but and then I watched one of the dumbest movies I've ever watched in my entire life. I said I was on a horror kick, so I found this. I was like very interested in these like sharksploitation movies. And I picked probably the dumbest one you could ever watch. There's no reason to watch it. It's called Chum. And literally the sharks in this movie are like, it's a puppet shark.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even like, there's no real, not even like the imagery of, it's like Killer Sofa, where the imagery will make it look like, oh, this is gonna be like a shark movie. It's a puppet shark.
Ben, where did you find this? This only has 19 reviews on Letterboxd.
This was very obscure. I don't know how I found this.
Extremely obscure. Like, we're the first person to talk about this on Spotify, I bet.
Yes. So, yeah, don't watch it. It's stupid.
That's crazy. 19 reviews. That's crazy.
I've had this weird fixation now of watching, like, movies that, like, nobody has watched. And I don't know why, but I mean, by the way, the tagline of the movie is, "You're gonna need a better vaccine." Yeah, because there's like an evil side. I mean, the plot is kind of incomprehensible, and the acting's like so bad and like corny, and the characters are. There's one main character that has like a relationship with this guy who's like who's like the stupidest guy. I don't know. It's just like so strange. But maybe I'll watch some other shark. I want to watch Sharknado. That's like the big like sharksploitation movie. Mm-hmm. And I think it has a little bit more production value than this one. I use that term loosely, like not a lot more, just like a little bit more.
It's more intentionally, yeah.
I mean, this movie's definitely intentionally bad. Like it knows it's bad.
Okay.
It's not like no movie that's trying to market itself as a shark movie and then using a puppet shark. That you have to know that it's not going to be good, right?
A little artistic, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only watched 2. I watched 6 Men Being Sick, or 6 Men Getting Sick, and The Alphabet, which are both 3 or 4 minute films. I didn't have time this week. It was finals week, so not really movies, but short films. And I don't put them in my movie count. I
only count them if they're Georges Méliès, because
technically those were
were feature length when they came out.
Fair enough.
I understand that, not counting it in your
very, very dark and twisted. I think it's a good element of David's earliest part of his career, and that you should probably check out before we finish off his filmography, besides Firewalk with Me. So yeah, I think that's all I got. I am very excited to finish this out, and we have the next arc planned. We will do a movie in between this arc and the next arc.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't reveal what that is because we have made that mistake too many times.
Yeah, we've been known to change our plans last minute from time to time. So,
well, with that, do you want to close the vault?
I will close it. It's a tractor. I feel like my sleep deprivation is coming out on this episode.